10 years in business. What does the milestone mean to you?
I can't believe 10 years has gone by because, it does seem like, I remember just like yesterday, I was in my dorm room having this idea, talking about it over the phone with my mom, flying back to San Francisco and having my sister-in-law being like, yeah, I'm in between jobs, why don't I help you? Me and my sister-in-law just working together and doing everything ourselves to now today, like having whole teams and people that we work with and collaborations. It's really been much less about me and much more about the brand as an organization to create something together.
Tell me a little bit about that initial conversation with your sister-in-law.
I was very nervous because, I had to tell, first of all, my family that I wanted to leave school, and
how did that go over?
You know what, surprisingly, it wasn't like an immediate no. It was kind of like okay. My mom, I think, comes from a place where she's been very entrepreneurial in her life, and she understands when you have an idea and you feel very convinced by it and you feel like you have to really go at it, And so she was very supportive of me leaving school on the terms that I really had a plan. Even if I didn't really know, at least I had, thought. Of course, we ran into many obstacles and many rejections and no's and things like that.
Were there rejections and no's? The perception is that you were an instant success.
Not a lot of people paid so much attention to each season and kind of what we were doing until we kind of had our first presentation show. So we had a couple seasons under our belt to kind of say, okay, well, figuring out what a line sheet was, how to get our deliveries on track. I remember calling a bunch of showrooms, no one would take us, and then we ended up having to go to the trade show ourselves. That first day, we had all the buyers come and everyone was really excited about the product, and one of the showrooms that had not called us back kind of came over and gave us his card.
Are you as comfortable designing menswear as women's wear? There's the whole gender discussion today. How does that play into your work? Your work can be androgynous to begin with.
I definitely have to say, women's wear was, always, my first kind of venture. And the men's side for me is because I feel like what I wear and what I like is very specific to certain things, it felt a bit more limiting. It's taking me a while to really kind of think okay, how else do I express my brand besides just me? I feel like with women's wear, there's definitely a little bit more of a fantasy and a way that I kind of might think of other women and, different backgrounds and friends or families or people that I don't know that.
Talk about the H&M thing a little bit more, because that was such an extravaganza. Talk about, collaborations in general and the high-low aspect and what that does for you.
The same reason why I wanted to work at Balenciaga when the opportunity came in is the same reason why I wanted to do H&M when the opportunity arose. I felt
that's very interesting. Yeah. The same reasons, the same attractions.
Same reasons, same attractions. To a certain extent,
yes.
Of course, different resources,
yeah.
different infrastructure. But I wanted to see how I might be able to communicate with an audience that I had never maybe touched or communicated with before. So I thought, well, I've always loved performance wear and activewear. It's a completely different ballgame, in terms of materials and all. It's much more advanced and technical. So I said, H&M would be the perfect place to really, have that infrastructure, but then it doesn't matter if you're a luxury consumer or a mass consumer. If you go to the gym, if you work out, you're buying $69 leggings and a $50 tank top or a sports bra. So I thought, well, that's the perfect thing that feels very authentic to price point. It's not about making something cheaper or diluting something for the masses.
Can you remember, identify, articulate the single biggest lesson of the past 10 years?
I think the single biggest lesson is to never feel like you figured it out. Every single time I feel like, okay, we got that under the belt, or it's going to be exactly like that. Something always changes. Whether it's in sales and press and building a store, a timeline, whatever it may be, you always have to be prepared for change and for something to go wrong.
The single biggest surprise?
My agility to move on. Whenever I feel like the worst thing has happened, something didn't go as I thought I'd go. The next day, or I say, the show's got to move on. You got to, what's next? Let's come up with option 2. Let's move on to the next thing. I really surprised myself on being able to move on when things don't go the way that you perceive.